When it comes to Databricks on Azure, you should be familiar with some of the Azure Essentials. As part of Azure Essentials, one of the Azure Essential which you should be familiar with is nothing but Azure CLI. In this sectional module, we will understand how to use Azure CLI to interact with Azure resources. That being said, we'll get started with using Azure CLI as part of Azure Portal Cloud Shell, which is nothing but this one. Then we'll actually see how to set up Azure CLI on Mac, and also we'll see how to set up on Windows. Depending upon your operating system, you can actually choose one of those and you can take it further. Once we understand details about setting up or getting started with Azure CLI, then we'll actually go through series of lectures where we'll be warming up with Azure CLI. We'll take care of creating something called as resource group using Azure CLI. Let me actually move the agenda here. As part of warming up with Azure CLI, we'll be going through these details once the Azure CLI is set up. First, we'll be going to the details about creating something called as resource group. We'll also understand what is the resource group when we get into those details. Then we'll actually see the details about creating storage account within resource group. Then we'll understand how to add containers or file systems as part of storage account. Also, we'll understand how to upload the data from the local file system into Azure storage account containers or file systems. Also, we'll understand how to clean up the storage accounts as well as resource groups using Azure CLI. This will give you enough practice with respect to get starting with one of the essential with respect to Azure to work with Databricks. It is nothing but Azure CLI. Make sure you go through all the tasks and also run all the commands so that you are really comfortable with Azure CLI. It will definitely boost your productivity with respect to working with Databricks on Azure platform. Azure CLI is one of the ways to interact with Azure services. Azure CLI is available in many ways. One of the ways is using this option. If you look at this, it is nothing but Cloud Shell. Azure CLI will be automatically be there as part of the Cloud Shell. You can click on this and then you should be able to get started with Azure CLI. You can directly run commands such as AZ, and then you should be able to give the sub commands. In this case, to get the sub commands, you can say AZ-H or AZ-H. You should be able to see the sub commands under AZ or AZ. When it comes to the Azure CLI that comes as part of Cloud Shell, you don't need to log in. You should be able to get the details directly. In this case, let's say I want to get the details about resource groups. For that, we have subcommand called as group. Now I can say AZ, then group, then -H. I should be able to see the subcommands with respect to AZ group. Now one of the subcommands is nothing but list. We should be able to see the list of resource groups that are there as part of my account. I just have to say AZ group list, hit enter. It will take care of listing the resource groups that are there as part of my account. You can see that there are several resource groups. If you would like to access a specific resource group, you can also filter based on a specific resource group. If you would like to see only the names of resource groups, discarding the rest of the stuff, then you should be able to even use something called as query that comes as part of almost all the AZ CLI commands or Azure CLI commands, and you should be able to query whatever you are looking for from the output. In this case, I can say AZ group list, then -- query, then in single quotes, star like this, then name, then hit enter. I should be able to get the names of the resource groups. This is how we should be able to quickly get the details about the groups. In this manner, we should be able to manage almost everything that is associated with Azure using Azure CLI. On top of using the Azure CLI using Cloud Shell, you can also set up Azure CLI as part of Mac or PC. However, you need to make sure that you log in into your account so that it can interact with your account without any issues. We'll also see the details about how to get started with Azure CLI on Mac, Windows, etc. in their respective videos. As we have understood how to access Azure CLI using Cloud Shell that comes as part of Azure portal, now let's go to the details about setting up Azure CLI on top of Mac. For that, we should be able to open the terminal or item. In this case, I'll be demonstrating using item. Let me open a new item here. Let me say new window. Now I'm in the item. Let me update my item with ZSH. Let me clear the screen. Now I should be able to use brew to install Azure CLI. I should be able to search for it by saying brew, then search Azure-CLI, hit enter. Let's see if it will return the formula related to Azure CLI. You can see one formula which is nothing but Azure-CLI. We should be able to install this to configure Azure CLI on top of Mac. First we need to install, then we need to configure so that we can interact with our Azure using our account. That being said, I should be able to say brew install. then Azure-CLI. It will take care of installing Azure CLI on this Mac. Once it is installed, we will see how to interact with Azure account using Azure CLI. Let's wait until installation is done. Now Azure CLI is successfully installed. You should be able to validate by saying az-h. We should be able to see the usage of az command. You can see the usage here. Now to make sure that we can interact with our account, we need to first run command called as az-login. Now I can say az or az login, hit enter. It will actually take us to the browser. As part of the browser, we need to ensure that we log in using right account. Now I am logging in using my personal account. Let's wait until it is successfully logged in. Then we'll see whether we'll be able to get the resource groups from the account or not. It seems to be logged in successfully. It will wait for 10 seconds and it will actually take us to the documentation. That's what have happened here. Now we should be able to go back to the item. You can actually see the output here, which means it have logged in successfully into our account. Now I should be able to say az, then group. It have a command called as the list. We should be able to list the resource groups under my account. You can actually see the details here. Now if I would like to get only the names, I should be able to use -- query. Then as the output is part of the list, you can see here, it is closing square bracket. At the beginning, it will have opening square bracket also. Let me scroll up here. You can see opening square bracket here. As this is nothing but a JSON list, we have to use something like this to interpret the list. And then we have to give the attribute name to get the names. You can see that the list contain JSON documents. This is one of the JSON documents. As part of the JSON document, we have name. To get the name of the corresponding resource group, we should be able to use name like this. And then we should be able to only retrieve the names of all the resource groups. Now you can actually see the resource group names. This is how you should be able to get started with Azure CLI on Mac. You can use brew install to install Azure CLI. Once it is installed, you should be able to log in using az login. Once you log in, you should be able to manage services under the account which is used to log in. In this case, I have demonstrated how to list the resource groups. You can also create resource group, delete resource group. You can add storage accounts as part of the resource group. You can do whatever you can with respect to UI using Azure CLI once you log in with the appropriate account which have right permissions. That being said, make sure you configure Azure CLI after installing it on your Mac so that you should be able to interact with the Azure account using command line interface. As part of this lecture, let's go to the details about setting up Azure CLI on Windows. We'll also validate to see if it is working as per our expectations or not. To set up Azure CLI on Windows, you can launch the browser and then as part of Google, you should be able to search for setup Azure CLI on Windows. Now you should be able to click on this. You need to download and install using something called as MSA. MSA stands for Microsoft Installer. You should be able to download by clicking on this. It will take care of downloading the Azure CLI for you. Now you should be able to expand this, then click on show in folder. Then you should be able to double click on this to install Azure CLI on Windows. You have to accept the terms in the license agreement. Then you have to click on install. It will take care of installing Azure CLI. Once it is installed, you should be able to access Azure CLI using PowerShell or even DOS prompt. I'll be demonstrating using PowerShell about validation. However, you should be able to use even DOS prompt. That being said, let's wait until it is completely installed, then we'll validate using PowerShell. Now Azure CLI is installed on top of Windows. We should be able to click on finish to complete the installation process. Now we should be able to launch PowerShell. Once we launch PowerShell, we should be able to validate by saying az-version. However, -version is not the valid command. Let me say az-v. To see if it will actually return the version or not. Now you can see the version. That being said, we can actually log in into the Azure account by using az login command. It will launch the browser and then we should be able to enter email and password to log in into the Azure account through Azure CLI. Let me give my email ID here. Then I have to hit next. It is my personal account. Now I have to enter the password. Let me enter the password. Now it says you have logged into Microsoft Azure. We should be able to close this. We can go back to the PowerShell. Now we should be able to leverage Azure CLI to interact with Azure. That being said, let's run command called as az group, then list. It will actually list the resource groups. You should be able to see the details here. You can see the resource groups that are there as part of my account. If you would like to get only the names without getting the rest of the details, you should be able to use option called as query. The option can be passed using -- query like this. Then you have to specify star in circular brackets. I will explain why we have to specify star in circular brackets like this. Then you have to say dot name to get the names of the resource groups. Now you will get only the names. You can see the names of the resource groups. Now let us understand the details about why we are passing a name like this to get only the names from each and every resource group details. The reason why we are specifying the star within square brackets and then we are saying dot and then name is because the entire output with respect to AZ group list is of type JSON list. You can see here the output is within the square brackets. Even the previous output is within the square brackets. That JSON list contain the JSON documents, one document for each resource group. By saying star within square brackets, we are trying to retrieve names of all the resource groups. And as we are trying to retrieve the names, we are saying name here. Because name is the first level attribute within each and every JSON document, we can specify name like this and we are able to get the names. If you would like to get the provisioning state, then you have to say star within square brackets, then dot, then properties, then dot, then provisioning state. Then you should be able to get the details about the provisioning state of each and every resource group. That is how you should be able to get the details from the output by narrowing down using -- query. For now, we have successfully validated whether Azure CLI is working as per our expectations or not. After logging in, we have just ran a few commands to understand whether we will be able to interact with Azure using Azure CLI or not. Now we should be able to use it as and when it is required. As part of the sectional module, so far we have gone through details about accessing Azure CLI using Azure Shell, and also we have gone through details about setting up Azure CLI on Mac as well as Windows. You can choose whatever is your choice and you should be able to move forward. In the rest of the sectional module, we'll actually go through the details about warming up with Azure CLI. In that process, first we'll create resource group. As part of the resource group, we'll create one resource of type storage account. A resource group is nothing but logical container of multiple resources. You should be able to create resources using different services. One of them is nothing but storage account. Using storage account, we will be creating one storage account, which is nothing but one resource within the resource group. A storage account can contain multiple containers. A container is similar to AWS S3 bucket if you are from AWS background. Once we add containers as part of storage account using Azure CLI, then we'll see how to upload the directory into the container. The directory contains several subdirectories as well as files. We'll also see how to validate. Once we go through the details about uploading the directory into the container and also validating, we'll also see how to delete storage account, which is nothing but a resource within a resource group, and also how to delete resource group itself. We'll be using Azure CLI to explore all these things so that we are really comfortable in using Azure CLI. We should be able to relate to any other service and we should be able to leverage the commands that are available on that service once we understand how to use Azure CLI in general to interact with Azure. We are going to start with storage account and containers. However, the same process can be applicable on other aspects within Azure as well. As part of this lecture, let's go to the details about creating resource group using Azure CLI. You need to ensure that Azure CLI is installed if you are using Windows or Mac. If you do not have Azure CLI set up on your Windows or Mac, you can actually use Azure Shell that comes as part of Azure portal. That being said, I'll be demonstrating using the Mac. You can choose the platform of your choice. Now, when it comes to creating resource group, as part of AZ command, there is a main subcommand called as group. You should be able to get the help on AZ group by saying -h like this. You should be able to see different options which we have with respect to AZ group. AZ group is primarily to manage resource groups and template deployments. That being said, now we should be able to create a resource group by using AZ group command by saying AZ, then group, then create. If you would like to get help on AZ group create, you should be able to say AZ group create and then -h. You should be able to see all the options that are available. Some of the main options are nothing but location and then name. You can also explore others depending upon your requirements. In this case, I'll be using only the location or -l and then --name or -- resource group or -g or -n. We should be able to pass name using one of these four options. Now, let me say AZ, then group, then create. Then I should be able to specify location by saying -l. In this case, I'll be creating resource group within my default region, which is nothing but East US. So let me say East US. Then we should be able to give the name by saying -n. In this case, I'll be naming it as ITV Azure CLI demo. Now, by running this, we should be able to create the resource group under our Azure account. Now you can see that the resource group is successfully created. You should be able to get the list of resource groups by using AZ group. Let's get the help by saying -h. You have a subcommand called as list. Using list command, we should be able to get the list of resource groups that are there as part of the account that is logged in at this time. So in this case, I should be able to say AZ group, then a list. We should be able to get the output in the form of JSON array or list. It contains details of each and every resource group. If you would like to get only the names, as we have seen earlier, you should be able to use something called as -- query. If you would like to get help, you can actually say -h on top of AZ group list, and then you should be able to go to query here. As part of query, you should be able to pass something called as JMES path query string. You can actually go to this URL and understand more about how to pass the logic using JMES path queries. That being said, you can also see one example here. If you would like to filter, you can filter like this. It will only get the resource groups that are there as part of West US location. In this case, I'll be using query to get only the names. For that, I should be able to say -- query. When it comes to getting names for each and every resource group, the JMES path string is nothing but this one. So square brackets, star within the square brackets, then dot, then name. This is the JMES path to get the names of the resource groups. Now we should be able to get the resource group names only. I need to enclose this as part of single quotes or double quotes. Now we should be able to see the names of the resource groups. This is how you can actually create the resource group and also validate whether the resource group is successfully created or not. You can actually see the details of the resource group ITV Azure CLI demo, which is created earlier here. In this case, we got only the name. If you would like to get all the other details related to this resource group, then you should be able to follow this syntax. Now you should be able to say AZ group list -- query. Now you should be able to clean dot name and then say $name =. Let's enclose this entire JMS path query in double quotes. Then we should be able to say name =, ITV Azure CLI demo. Hit enter. However, it is not getting the details as per the expectations. We need to understand the syntax here. Only when we understand the syntax, we should be able to get the output. I know where it is going wrong. I need to make sure that the name of the resource group is enclosed as part of the single quotes. Now we should be able to get the details of the resource group. You can see the output here. This is how you should be able to create resource group and also validate whether the resource group is successfully created or not. You can see the details with respect to provisioning state here. It is succeeded, which means the resource group is successfully created. Also, the command which I have used to create the resource group is nothing but this one. As I am using Mac, I am able to break the command into multiple lines using / at the end. There should not be any other character after the /. The syntax will work as part of Azure CLI that comes as part of Azure Portal's Azure Shell as well. However, the syntax will not work on Windows. If you are using Windows and if you are using PowerShell to run these commands, make sure that you type the entire command in single line. Just keep that in mind. I'll be demonstrating using Mac. I'll be breaking the command into multiple lines so that the command is readable. However, if you are using Windows, make sure you remove the / and also you make sure that you build the command as part of single line and then copy paste or use that command which is there as part of single line to actually interact with Azure using Azure CLI. As part of previous lecture, we have gone through details about creating a resource group using AZ group command. Now let's go to the details about creating storage account as one of the resources within resource group using AZ storage command. When it comes to resource group, it can have n number of resources. Each resource can be of type different service. In this case, we are going to create a resource of type storage account. You should be able to create resources of different types as well. That being said, now let's start with AZ storage. Let's say -h to get the help. You can see that there are several subcommands under AZ storage. You can actually scroll up and go to the details. The important ones are nothing but account, FS, so and so forth. We'll be primarily focusing on account and FS. Account is primarily used to manage storage accounts. FS is to interact with the file systems that are associated with the storage accounts. In this case, I'll be starting with the AZ storage account so that we can actually manage storage accounts. Even creating storage accounts is treated as managing storage accounts only. So I can actually say AZ, then storage, then account, then -h to get the help on AZ storage account command. Now you should be able to see options such as create, delete, so and so forth with respect to storage accounts. You can also use list to list the storage accounts. Let's start with the list command, then we'll actually see how to create storage account using create command. In this case, I should be able to say Azure storage account list, hit enter. We should be able to see all the storage account details here. These storage accounts are associated with my overall Azure account. If you would like to get the details only related to a specific resource group, then you have to pass the resource group details. Let's look at the help on list and then we'll take it further. In this case, if you would like to get details related to one specific resource group, you can pass the resource group name by using -g and you can take it further. Now, let's run this command by saying -g. The resource group which we have created earlier is nothing but ITV Azure CLI demo. Let's hit enter. Let's see what all storage accounts we have in this. I don't think we have any storage accounts. Let's confirm that. By default, as part of resource group, it might create one storage account. Actually, there is one storage account by name ITV ADLS demo. It is there as part of ITV Azure CLI demo. I might have created as part of my R&D. We should be able to delete this and we can actually take it further. To delete this, I should be able to say Azure storage, then account. When it comes to deleting, we should be able to use delete. Then we should be able to pass the name. Let's get the help by saying -h. In this case, we should be able to specify the name of the storage account using -n. So let me delete ITV ADLS demo storage account from resource group called as ITV Azure CLI demo. Now it will take care of deleting the storage account for us. It might take a bit of time to completely delete the storage account. Now it should be deleted. Now let's run this command to see if the storage account is deleted or not. Now you can see that there are no storage accounts under resource group called as ITV Azure CLI demo. Now we should be able to understand how to create one. To create one storage account, we should be able to use command called as Azure storage, then account, then create. If you would like to get the help, you can say -h to get the help. We can actually pass the name of the storage account either by using -n. Let me scroll up here. When it comes to passing the name, the options we have are nothing but -n. There might be other options also. Let me scroll down. The documentation is not organized properly. There is no option -n anywhere here. That's weird. Let me scroll up once again to confirm whether we have option -n or not. Okay, there are a few more options at the top. The documentation with respect to creating storage account is quite big, and hence we have to go till the top. You can see here, with respect to passing the name, either we can use -name or -n. So let me use -n here. Let me scroll down completely. Now I should be able to say Azure storage account, then create, then -n. The name will be ITV ADLS demo. We are supposed to create this as part of a resource group called as ITV Azure CLI demo. We should be able to pass the information using -g, or there are other options also. Then we should be able to say ITV Azure CLI demo. This is the resource group name. Then we have to specify the location. Otherwise, it will create the storage account in default location. The way you can actually specify the location is by using -l. In this case, I'll be creating under East US. Then we should be able to specify -SKU to pass the type of the storage account. There are different types of storage accounts. In this case, I'll be creating using standard_LRS. If you are not sure about these, you can actually Google around and search for SKUs related to storage accounts. Then you should be able to go to the pricing and use whatever is relevant to you. In this case, for now, to complete the syntax, I'll be passing standard_LRS. Now let me hit enter. It will take care of creating the storage account within a group called as ITV Azure CLI demo. It will take a bit of time to actually create the storage account. Once it is completely done, we should be able to validate by using AZ storage account list command, which we have seen earlier. Let's wait until it is completed. Then we will validate whether the storage account is successfully created or not. Now you can see that the storage account is created. At least the command ran successfully. We need to validate whether it is created successfully or not. You should be able to see the output here itself. It says provisioning state has succeeded, which means the storage account seems to be created successfully. Now we should be able to run command called as AZ storage account list. By passing the resource group name, we should be able to filter to that specific resource group. Now we should be able to see one storage account in this resource group. You can see all the details related to the storage account here. This is how you should be able to create storage account within resource group using Azure CLI and also validate whether it is created properly or not. To understand how to leverage Azure CLI to interact with Azure account, so far we have created resource group. Then we have gone through details about creating storage account within resource group. Now let's go to the details about adding containers as part of storage account. When it comes to adding containers, it is related to interacting with the storage account, and hence we should be able to interact with the storage account by using AZ storage fs command. Fs stands for file system. Let's start with AZ storage and then -h to get help on AZ storage. You can see that there is a command called as fs within AZ storage, which will facilitate us to manage file systems in Azure Data Lake Storage Gen 2 account. When it comes to file systems within ADLS, they are nothing but containers. So we should be able to create something called as a container using AZ storage fs command. Let's go to the help related to AZ storage fs. You can see the options we have. We should be able to list the existing containers or file systems. You can create a new container or file system. You can delete the existing container or file system, so and so forth. We can also interact with the file system or container using commands such as directory, file, etc. We'll be going through those details very soon. That being said, for now, let's start with listing the containers or file systems within ADLS or storage account. Then we'll actually go to the details about creating one. To list, we should be able to say AZ storage, then fs, then list. Let's go to the help related to this command. Let's see how we can actually pass the name of the storage account here. You should be able to use -- account name to pass the storage account name. Let's pass the -- account name here. In this case, it is nothing but ITB ADLS demo. Let's hit enter. You can see that the command runs successfully. However, there are no file systems or containers at this time as part of storage account called as ITV ADLS demo. That's why the JSON list or array is empty. You can ignore these warnings. Don't worry too much about these warnings at this time. As we have understood how to list the containers or file systems under a given storage account, now let's go ahead and understand how to create a file system or container within the storage account. For that, we should be able to use command called as AZ storage fs create. Let's go to the help here. To get the help, I have used this command, AZ storage fs create -h. Now we should be able to scroll up to see all the options that are there as part of AZ storage fs create. You can also see few examples here. We should be able to create file system or container within account using this command as reference. Don't worry too much about account key. We'll be using the account name only. That being said, now let me go ahead and create the container or file system under account called as ITB ADLS demo. The container name will be data. So I can say AZ storage fs create, then -n. The name of the container or file system is nothing but data. Then I can say -- account -name. The account name in this case is nothing but ITB ADLS demo. So as part of the ITV Azure CLI demo resource group, we have ITV ADLS demo storage account. Within that ITV ADLS storage account, we are actually creating a file system or container by name data. Now let's hit enter. It will take care of creating the container for us. We should be able to review whether it is created successfully or not by running the list command, which we have seen earlier. Now it should return data. You should be able to see the details related to the data here. Keep in mind that in this case, data is nothing but name of the container or file system which is created as part of storage account called as ITV ADLS demo. If you compare container or file system in Azure with AWS, it is similar to AWS S3 bucket. Just keep that in mind. If you are familiar about AWS, a container or file system within Azure storage account is similar to S3 bucket. As part of warming up with Azure CLI so that we are comfortable with Azure CLI, so far we have created resource group, then we have created storage account within resource group. Also, we have added a container by name data within the storage account. In this case, the resource group name is nothing but ITV Azure CLI demo. The storage account name is nothing but ITV ADLS demo. When it comes to the container or file system, the name is nothing but data. Now, we need to make sure that the data is uploaded into the containers or file systems. For that, we should be able to use command called as az storage fs directory. Let's get started with help on az storage fs by saying az storage and then fs-h. You can see that as part of az storage fs, we have commands and also subgroups. We have already gone through commands such as create and list to deal with containers or file systems under storage accounts. Once the containers or file systems are created, we should be able to interact with file systems or containers using the subgroup commands. As part of subgroups, you will be having several commands. For example, if you wanted to deal with directories within the container or file system, you should be able to use the directory. If you wanted to deal with files, you should be able to leverage files, so on and so forth. That being said, for now, let's focus on a directory and see how we can upload the data from the local file system into Azure storage accounts, container or file system. First, we need to make sure that we have data set up locally, and then we should be able to go to the details about how to upload the data using the command directory within az storage fs. Let's go to the details so that you understand what I'm talking about here. At this time, we're in the process of uploading the local directory into Azure storage account, file system or container using Azure CLI. First, we need to make sure that we have data set up locally. Then we will be able to use the appropriate command to upload the local directory into Azure storage account, file system or container. That being said, I already have a GitHub repository. You should be able to clone the repository so that you set up the dataset locally. If you would like to use some other dataset, you should be able to use other dataset also. Now, let me actually get into my research folder. As part of this, I'll be creating a working directory by saying Azure CLI demos. In this folder, I'll be cloning the dataset repository. The repository URL is nothing but www.github.com and then dgadiraju. It is my GitHub account. Then we have something called as retail_db. To clone it from this URL, we have to use git clone command. Let's say git clone and hit enter. It will take care of cloning this retail_db dataset locally. Now you should be able to see the retail_db folder here. Let me move this up. Now you should be able to see the folder. We can get into the folder by saying cd, then retail_db. Now you should be able to say ls-ltr to check all the folders and files. However, there are some hidden folders and files as well. I don't want to upload these hidden folders or files. At this time, we have only one. It is nothing but .git. After cloning the repository, you should be able to run this command called as rm-rf to remove the .git folder. Now we have only the files that are associated with our datasets. The location is nothing but this one. We have to pick this location and use appropriate command to upload this entire folder into Azure storage account, container or file system. Let's go to the details about using the command and uploading this folder into Azure storage account, container or file system as part of the next lecture. At this time, we are going through the details about uploading the local directory into Azure storage account, container or file system. For that, we should be able to use command called as Azure storage fs directory. It have command called as upload. We should be able to leverage that and we should be able to upload. However, before going to the details about uploading, we need to ensure that data is set up locally. Already we have cloned the GitHub repository and removed .git folder, which means we are ready with the dataset under this location. We should be able to upload this retail_db directly into the data container which is created earlier. Now let me clear the screen here. You can be in any folder. You don't need to be part of the folder where we have the dataset. It can be any folder. However, before moving on to a different folder, let me just run pwd command and make sure that I capture the path here. The path is nothing but this one. I'll be capturing here for now. Now let me clear the screen. Let me say cd to move away from that location. Now I should be able to use something called as az storage, then fs, then directory. This is nothing but a group within az storage fs. You should be able to get help on directory by saying -h like this. You can see there are several subcommands under directory group. They are nothing but create, delete, list, upload, download, etc. To list all the directories within a container, you should be able to use list command. When it comes to container, it can also be termed as a file system. Now let's understand how to use list to list the directories within Azure storage accounts, container or file system. First, let's get started with the help by saying AD storage fs directory, then list -h. You can actually get the usage of this command here. Now you should be able to say AD storage fs directory, then list -f. In our case, the container or file system name is nothing but data. The storage account name is nothing but ITV ADLS demo. Now we should be able to get the details about directories within this container or file system under account ITV ADLS demo. As of now, you can see that there are no directories in that container or file system within the account ITV ADLS demo. Either we can create the directory and then start copying the files into it, or we should be able to upload the complete directory as well. In this case, we'll be using upload command to upload the directory. Let's get the help once again here. I got the help on Azure Storage FS directory. You can see there is a command called as upload, which can be used to upload the complete directory into Azure Storage account container or file system. However, it is still in preview mode, which means you might run into few issues. If you run into any issues, you just use alternative ways to upload the files and directories instead of uploading the complete directory in one shot. There might be some bugs and you might run into bugs. However, they will be addressed very soon, and hence it is better for you to be comfortable with this command. That being said, when it comes to uploading the complete directory from the local file system into Azure Storage account container or file system, you should be able to leverage command called as AD storage fs directory, then upload. Let's get the help first. You can actually go through the usage here. You can use the commands that are available here for your reference, and you can take it further. So in this case, I'll be using this command as reference because we are trying to upload a folder which is there as part of the local file system recursively, and hence I'll be using this command as reference. When it comes to the command, it will be like this: AD, then storage, then fs directory upload. We can pass the file system name or container name by saying -f data. Then you can actually specify the account name by using -account name. It is nothing but ITV ADLS demo. When it comes to the location of the folder, we need to pick the fully qualified path of the folder. It is nothing but this one. You can also use relative paths, but it is better to use fully qualified paths all the time. So this is the folder in which I have the complete dataset, and hence let me copy that path, and then I have to specify the path using -s and then in double quotes like this. Now let me go to the next line and then say -recursive, so that this folder is recursively uploaded into this container using this name itself. Once the command is successfully run, you should be able to see a folder by name retail_db as part of the Azure Storage account container or file system by name data. Now let's hit enter. Depending upon the size of the dataset, it might take some time. We have to wait until the upload is completely done. Then we have to validate using the list command. Let's wait until it is successfully executed, then we will validate. The command runs successfully. Let's validate whether we can see the folder under data or not. For that, we should be able to use command called as AZ, then storage, then fs directory list. We have used this command in the past also. Let's pick the same command here and run it. Now we should be able to see the directory details. You can actually scroll up and look into the details. It have actually gone through the retail_db folder recursively and have listed all the directories. So it haven't listed only the top level directory, but also all the directories recursively. You can scroll up and see the details here. If you would like to get the details about the files, then you can use command called as AZ storage fs file. If you look at AZ storage fs help, there is also a sub command or group of commands called as file. We should be able to leverage this to get the list of files. The way you should be able to get the list of files is by using command like this: AZ, then storage fs file list, then -f data. We should be able to specify the path by saying -path. Let's say retail_db, then -account name. It is nothing but ITV ADLS demo. Now let's hit enter and see what it actually returns. You can see the files under retail_db folder. It have even displayed the directories along with the files. Directory only listed the directories. When it comes to file, it have listed both directories as well as files. You can see that for files, each directory is false. For directories, each directory is true. If you would like to get files on a specific folder, you can actually improvise on top of path like this. Let's say I would like to get the files under retail_db orders. I should be able to say reader_db/orders as part of the path, then it will only list the files in that path. You can see that it contains only one file. The file name is nothing but this one. This is how you should be able to interact with the containers or file systems that are there as part of storage accounts using AZ storage fs subgroup commands. That being said, we have successfully uploaded the dataset into the Azure storage account container or file system. Now it is time for us to understand how to delete storage account as well as resource group. We'll be covering those details as part of subsequent lectures in this sectional module. As part of this sectional module, we are going through the details about getting started with Azure CLI. So far, we have understood how to set up Azure CLI on different platforms and also how to use it to create resource groups, to create storage accounts within resource groups, also to add containers or file systems as part of storage accounts, and also upload the local datasets into the container or file system using command line interface. Now, it is time for us to explore how to delete storage account and also how to delete resource group. Let's start with deleting the storage account. Then we'll actually go to the details about deleting the resource group. So in this case, if you would like to delete the storage account, you have to explore command called as AZ storage then account. Let's say -h to get the help related to AZ storage account command. You can see that there is a command called as delete. You should be able to use it to delete the storage account. First, let's list, then we'll see how to delete. To list, we should be able to say AZ storage then account list. Let's look at the help. We have gone to this in the past also. If you just say AZ storage account list, it will actually list all the accounts across all the resource groups. If you would like to specify the resource group and if you would like to list the accounts only within the resource group, then you should be able to pass the resource group name like this. If you have too many storage accounts, you should be able to narrow down depending upon your criteria by exploring the other options such as -- query and few others which we have under AZ storage account list. The main is -- query only. That being said, now I should be able to say AZ storage account then list -g ITV. The resource group name is nothing but ITV Azure CLI demo. So let me say ITV Azure CLI demo. We should be able to get the storage account list. There is only one at this time. It is nothing but ITV ADLS demo. You can get the details by going through this output. Let's see whether we have name here. There should be a name somewhere. You can see the name here. If you would like to get the names only, then you should be able to use query option. As this is of type list, you should be able to say --query. Then in single quotes or double quotes, you can actually say star like this within square brackets, then say .name to get only the names of storage accounts. Now we'll get only the names. You can see that we have only one storage account. It is nothing but ITV ADLS demo. To delete, we should be able to use command called as delete. Let's get the help on delete by saying AZ storage account delete -h. When it comes to deleting the storage account, especially within a given resource group, you should be able to use command like this. You can say AZ storage account, then delete, then -n. In this case, the name of the storage account is nothing but ITV ADLS demo. Then resource group by using -g. The resource group name is nothing but ITV, then Azure CLI demo. Now let's run this. It will take care of deleting the storage account ITV ADLS demo from resource group called as ITV Azure CLI demo. Once the command is successfully run, we should be able to validate whether the storage account is deleted from the resource group or not by using the list command which you have seen earlier. You can review the output here. It is not listing that storage account name, which means it is successfully deleted. When we delete the storage account, it will automatically delete the file system or container that was created earlier under that storage account. Earlier, we have created a container or file system by name data init, and also we have uploaded local directory by name reader_db into the container or file system that was there as part of this storage account. Now everything is gone with one command. All the containers as well as the datasets that are uploaded into those containers or file systems are successfully deleted. This is how you should be able to clean up your storage accounts using Azure CLI. Now it is time for us to explore how to delete resource group. As part of the previous lecture, we have gone through details about deleting the storage account using Azure CLI. Now let's go through the details about deleting resource group using Azure CLI. Also, when we actually delete the resource group, I would like to understand whether all the resources related to resource group will be deleted or not. From that perspective, I have added the storage account which is deleted as part of the previous lecture in the resource group once again. You can see the commands and corresponding outputs here. This is the command which I have ran to actually create the storage account within the resource group called as ITV Azure CLI demo. You can also review the output of AZ storage account list on top of the resource group ITV Azure CLI demo to see storage accounts in it. You can see that there is one storage account. After deleting the resource group using CLI, we will see whether storage account still persists or not. Also, before getting into the details about deleting the resource group, let me list the storage accounts without specifying the resource group name to see if there is a storage account ITV ADLS demo in other resource groups. We should be able to use this command to list the storage account names. You can see that there is only one ITV ADLS demo. It is there as part of the resource group by name ITV Azure CLI demo. Now let's go ahead and delete the resource group by name ITV Azure CLI demo. For that, we should be able to use command called as az group. Let's check the help on this. You can see there is a command by name delete. You should be able to say az group delete, then -h to get the help on delete. As part of the help, you can see the examples. We should be able to use this command as reference to delete the resource group. In our case, the resource group name is nothing but ITV Azure CLI demo, and hence I can say az group delete -n ITV Azure CLI demo. Now let's hit enter. Let's say Y. It will take care of deleting the resource group for us. Once the resource group is deleted, we should be able to list the storage accounts and see if ITV ADLS demo storage account still exists or not. Now the command ran successfully. Let's run the command called as az storage account list without any resource group name to see if ITV ADLS demo storage account, which is part of the resource group, still exists or not. You can see that the storage account doesn't exist, which means the storage account is also deleted along with the resource group. So when we actually delete any resource group, all the storage accounts and any other resources that are there as part of the resource group will be deleted automatically for us. However, if we try to recreate the resource group again with the same name, it might restore the earlier resources that were there as part of that storage account. With respect to some of the resources, it might not be. With respect to some resources, it might be. Just keep that in mind. That being said, this is how you can actually get started with Azure CLI. I hope you perform all these tasks with Azure CLI and be comfortable with it so that you can leverage it as and when it is required, automate or to interact with Azure account a bit more gracefully than working always with Azure Web UI.